What up, everybody? You're now tuned into the true definition of a sports fanatic. I'm your host, Brandon Lampley. We are going to talk some football today. A lot of things happened in free agency, but first and foremost, we have to talk about Nick Foles to the Jaguars. Now, I talked about it before. I was on the fence about Nick Foles, and the longer the process went on, the less and less I liked it. But Jaguars made their move. They have their man. Now it's time to surround him with, a few offensive weapons. The offensive line isn't as bad as people make it seem. Last year, those guys dropped like flies. Let Cam Robinson, Brandon Linder, A.J. Cann, Jeremy Parnell, and Andrew Norwell all miss significant time. At one point in the season, we had the backups to our backups playing along the line. So we get a few guys healthy. We got to figure out right tackle and what they want to do. And that's not hard. It's not hard to find a right tackle. They signed Chris Conley as a weapon for him. Chris Conley had 5 touchdowns, and the former Chiefs wide receiver, Chris Conley, came out of Georgia. They also signed a former tight end from the Cowboys, Jeff Swain, who has a bit of an injury history and is more of a blocker, and the offensive tackle and former first-round pick of the Cincinnati Bengals, Cedric Ogbuehi. So, this is low-risk, high-reward for these players. They didn't put a whole lot of money into these guys. So, and the linebacker, Jake Ryan from the Packers. So, if you could get, 2 out of the 4 to perform at a decent level, it's a hit. But they're not paying them otherworldly money. I really wanted Golden Tate, but, I saw what New York Giants gave Golden Tate, and that was, a bit too much for us because we're really close up against the cap. But nonetheless, they have to build this for Nick Foles. I told you my knock on Nick Foles was, he had a 10-game sample where, he played lights-out football. He hasn't proven to be a full-time starter. And that's just my belief. You have guys who are a part of the system and a guy who is the system. Nick Foles was part of a system in Philly. There's no doubt about it. Philly had talent all throughout that roster. He didn't elevate anybody's play. Those guys are already who they were, already Pro Bowlers, already playing at a high level. Even when Carson Wentz went down, they had won, 12, 13 games already. So kudos to him. He didn't wreck the Ferrari. Now, he did drive it with the top down, doing 95 with his wind blowing in the hair, looking good while doing it. But still, he played his role. Now, we don't have a Ferrari here in Jacksonville. It's more like a old wide-body Charger that needs an engine and some tires and some Freon and the oil change and a new air filter. Well, you see where I'm going with this. So I wish him the best of luck, but he's going to really have to prove to me that he was worth this contract that they gave him. Now, I saw what it looks like the Jaguars basically bid against themselves when talking to him, but we were just number 1 on his list for whatever reason, and he came here first. And, of course, they didn't want to lowball him. So, like, say they lowball and go 16 to 17 or maybe 18 million, that gives the other teams that had interest a chance to beat that number. So they went a little higher with 21, 22 million and know they got their guy. But you better be right. Oh, my goodness, you better be right, because if not, everybody's fired. And now there's talk that Ohio State quarterback Dwayne Haskins isn't really well liked by the Giants at number 6. So if the Giants passed on Haskins at 6 and he falls to the Jaguars at 7, do you take him? If I'm the Jaguars, I'm taking him. I'm overloading the position because history shows that we've gotten it wrong more than we've gotten it right. So I have no problem if they decide to take Haskins. Now I know that's not happening. Most likely they'll trade back from 7, get some more picks, and you got to take one of those tight ends. I don't see any of the tackles that are worth taking at number 7. We got Jawan Taylor from Florida, but I'm so sick of them drafting Florida players in the first round, not named Fred Taylor. But, of course, I have a feeling that they're going to draft Jawan Taylor. and stick him on the right side of the offense. And hey, it is what it is. But no matter what moves they make, the expectation for Nick Foles is to win a title, to bring a chip to Duval County. Anything other than that is an abject failure. Now let's move on to other news and notes from around the NFL. Odell Beckham Jr. was traded to the Browns for a first and third round pick and safety Jabril Peppers. Also, they traded for Olivier Vernon and signed Sheldon Richardson. Antonio Brown was traded to the Oakland Raiders for a third and fifth round pick. He also signed a 3-year deal worth $54 million, which $30 was guaranteed. Got a big pay raise. Le'Veon Bell signed with the Jets, 4 years, $52 million. Terrell Suggs went to the Arizona Cardinals. Mark Ingram and Earl Thomas went to Baltimore. I like those moves. Frank Gore, just the ageless wonder, went to the Bills. Tyrann Mathieu went to Kansas City. Golden Tate to the Giants. Deshaun Jackson was traded to the Eagles. He's back home. Quan Alexander to the 49ers. C.J. Mosley, former Ravens linebacker, jumped ship and went to the Jets. 5 years, $85 million. I know that was too rich for the Ravens' blood. Now, with all that said, we have to talk about the Browns. New Browns GM John Dorsey has been incredibly aggressive in basically rebuilding the Browns, which I really wouldn't even call it a rebuild. I would say he's adding to what they already had, because this wasn't a horrible team. I mean, in 2017, they went 0-16, and I know Jacksonville Jaguars went up to Cleveland and played them, and they played us tough in the snow. I mean, if they had a quarterback, they might have beat us that day, but they had Deshaun Kaiser, and yeah, he is what he is. And I saw it then. They have a really good roster. Had decent players on the defensive side of the ball. And now they have a quarterback in Baker Mayfield. You trade for Odell Beckham Jr. You go trade for Olivier Vernon. You sign Sheldon Richardson. And you have Myles Garrett. You got Denzel Ward outside. So, I mean, dude, they should be favorites to win the AFC North. There's no doubt about it. Now, the Steelers, they are a hot mess. Just hot garbage. Ravens, I like what the Ravens have done. So I think it's going to be the Browns and the Ravens in the next few years challenging for this division, because Cincinnati and Pittsburgh are on the downslope. Now, I can't lie, I had my doubts about Baker Mayfield. I mean, I wasn't a huge fan of his, but dude, I'm a believer now. And I believe had he started the entire season, they would have went to the playoffs, and Hugh Jackson would still have a job. Now, of course, I like the move of trading for Odell Beckham Jr. It's aggressive, and it shows your fans that you're in win-now mode. But I'm a defensive guy, and, you know, I like defense and offensive line play and quarterback play. I feel like if those three things are running at peak efficiency, I can put pretty much anybody else at the other positions, because we're going to slow down your opposing offense. My offensive line is going to keep my quarterback clean, and we're going to maul you in the run game. That's a recipe for winning. Wide receivers, to me, are more icing on the cake once the cake is already made. You know, good to have, it tastes good, it's nice, but still nice cake without icing. Now, I will say this. Whoever the Giants pick at 17th overall, the pick they got from the Browns, that player will not give them the same production as Odell Beckham would have given them. And that's a fact. I think it's a good fit for him in Cleveland. I know the dog pound is going to love him, and I hope he balls out. Now let's talk about Mr. Big Chest, Antonio Brown, who basically finessed the Steelers. I mean, you can't look at it any other way, because they gave up they got a third and fifth round pick for him. That's crazy. That's not enough compensation. But they had no other choice, I'm sure. I mean, teams, I'm sure, were lowballing him. And that was probably one of the best offers that they got. And not only did he get his way and get traded, but he also got a significant pay raise. Kudos to him. Because I sat down with my family and I watched his entire interview where he talked about things that transpired between him and the Steelers and Ben Roethlisberger and the owner. And if you came away from that interview thinking that he was the problem, and he's not perfect, and he knows it, and he says it, but if you come away from that thinking that Antonio Brown was the problem and that he quit on his team, I really don't know what to say about you. I mean, this narrative that people push about him, I don't get it. I really don't. Because, dude, Ben Roethlisberger is absolutely awful. I've said it before. I will say it again. He's not a leader, and I don't think he's a good person. I mean, it is what it is. Even with Le'Veon Bell going to the Jets and Antonio Brown now with the Raiders, you still haven't solved your problem, Pittsburgh. All you did was put lipstick on a pig. The source of your issues is Ben Roethlisberger. But Antonio has moved on, and I think it's a good fit in Oakland. One thing about it, they're going to get their money's worth because John Gruden is going to get the football to Antonio Brown. There's no doubt about it. Now, let's talk about Antonio Brown's former teammate, Le'Veon Bell. Now, I've seen on multiple shows, and all news outlets, them talking about how Le'Veon Bell bet on himself and lost. His decision he made was stupid, or he left $14 million on the table. He never get it back. The Steelers offered more money, blah, blah, blah. Le'Veon did what he felt was right for him and his family. And how can you lose when you made a decision that you felt was the right decision? He won because he wanted out of Pittsburgh. There's no doubt about it. They were haggling over guaranteed money. They say the Steelers deal was worth, I think, $70 million total, and the deal he got with the Jets is worth, I think, $54 total. And the guaranteed money, I think the Jets, they gonna give him $25 million, and the most guaranteed he was gonna get from Pittsburgh was only $20. Those numbers being so close tells me that Le'Veon wanted out of Pittsburgh. That's what it tells me. So in my opinion, he won. He got his freedom, and now he has his money. So you can't tell me that Le'Veon lost, because if he wanted to be in Pittsburgh, if he really and truly wanted to be a Steeler, he would have taken that contract. Same with Antonio Brown. And if Antonio wanted to truly be a Steeler and still be there, he would be there right now and wouldn't have forced his way out of town. Le'Veon hasn't been very vocal about, his reasons and why he wanted to leave Pittsburgh, like the way Antonio has. But the dysfunction they had, you could put the blame squarely on the shoulders of three people. That's the GM, Kevin Colbert, when he came out and made that dumb statement about Ben Roethlisberger being able to say whatever he wanted to say. Mike Tomlin, because he's the head coach. And, of course, my favorite athlete of all time, Ben Roethlisberger. And now that Antonio and Le'Veon are gone, it's easy now. Go out and prove that it was them. They were the distraction. They were the dysfunction. And go out and win. Now, winning for them is going to be harder because you don't get rid of two of the top players at their positions and then winning becomes easier. I don't think this situation is addition by subtraction for the Steelers. This is a big, big loss for them. But the organization chose Ben. They better hope they chose right. Oh, man, I can't forget to mention this story by Yahoo Sports where a former Steelers running back, Josh Harris, said that Ben Roethlisberger fumbled on purpose late in the 2014 game because he wanted to spite offensive coordinator Todd Haley. I mean, I'm really not surprised. I'm not. The article says it was the very last game of the 2014 regular season. Bengals and Steelers with the AFC North on the line. Steelers had the ball and the 27-17 lead with 109 to play. And they could have kneeled 3 times and ran the clock out. But the coaching staff decided to call a play. And obviously Ben Roethlisberger didn't like that. And running back Josh Harris says, and quote, Todd Haley called a run play with very little time left in the game. Ben wanted to kneel. He rolled his eyes in the huddle. He then purposefully fumbled the ball. I had to recover it. At that moment, I knew what kind of person he was. He said, and I was a fan of Big Ben. I was starstruck when I first saw him. It was an honor to see Big Ben. Then I saw what he was. It made it sour for me. That's why they tell you never meet your heroes. End quote. That sums it up right there. I mean, what else do you want me to say? What do you want anybody else to say? I told you what Ben Roethlisberger was. But, hey, Pittsburgh, you made this bed. Got to lay in it, baby. Now on to even more news and notes from the NFL. Some things that just popped up while I'm recording right now. Panthers signed defensive end Bruce Irvin to replace Julius Peppers. The Cowboys are in trade talks to acquire Robert Quinn, the defensive end, from the Miami Dolphins. The Cowboys signed ex-Packer wide receiver Randall Cobb to a one-year, $5 million deal. I think that's a decent get for them. He can come in and give them some decent production and replace, what Cole Beasley, the hole that Cole Beasley left, which, Cole Beasley wasn't that great to me anyway. So I think Randall Cobb can fill the shoes pretty nicely. Also, the Arizona Cardinals went to Oklahoma today to meet with Kyler Murray and get some one-on-one time with him. Now, I understand they have the number one pick and you have to do your due diligence and, look at all options when it comes to your franchise. But, I mean, what do you think is going through Josh Rosen's head at this moment? You had the GM come out and reassure people that you're the guy. But the way he said it, he said, Josh Rosen is our quarterback for now, for sure. What that tells me is that I'm going to be replaced in the near future. Now, if they draft Kyler Murray, then, of course, if I'm Josh Rosen's people, I'm going to the Cardinals and say, hey, we want out. You got to trade us. We don't want to be here. And, what the rumors are, he's going to be available for a third-round pick. That's very low for him, even though his rookie season was not good. And, but the team around him wasn't good. I mean, that was an awful team in Arizona last year. But a third-round pick, I'm doing it. I'm pulling the trigger. If I'm the Jaguars, if I'm any team that needs a quarterback, I'm doing it. Dude, it wouldn't surprise me. See, I think New England has like 3 third-round picks. If he becomes available and the third-round pick is the compensation, man, I give him a third-round pick and throw a 5th in there for good measure. Because to me, I thought he was one of the best quarterbacks who came out in the draft last year, and I think the dude can play. I just think he was on a very bad team, and once they fired their offensive coordinator and promoted Byron Leftwich, things got better for him. He looked decent at times, but, man, the fix is in. There's no doubt about it. The fix is in because their new head coach, Cliff Kingsbury, which was a god-awful decision by Arizona, and I think it's going to crash and burn sooner rather than later unless he gets his quarterback that he wants, of course, who is Kyler Murray, which apparently he's been wanting to work with Kyler Murray since Kyler's high school days. So, Josh Rosen, I feel for you, dude. The fix is in. You're getting a taste already of what this is. It's a business. There's nothing more. It's nothing more, nothing less. This is a business and should be treated as such. Well, it's almost time to wrap this up, but before I go, I would be remiss if I did not talk about Zion Williamson. Zion had a spectacular performance in the ACC tournament. Dude was a beast. I mean, he's turning into probably my favorite basketball player right now. It's still LeBron James, even though he's going through his issues this year. And get your laughs in, people, because next year we hitting the ground running. But anyway, back to Zion. Dude is a beast. He's an absolute beast. Like, even when LeBron came out, LeBron was still slender and kind of skinny. Zion has his man body now and is an incredibly powerful athlete. I mean, Zion averaged 27 and 10 in the 3-game stretch in the ACC tournament, which culminated in Duke winning the ACC championship. And he joined some elite company when he joined Kevin Durant as the only freshman to average 25 and 10 in a conference tournament over the last 20 seasons. Just amazing. And then his first game back from injury, which was the first game in the conference tournament, they played against Syracuse. He went 13 for 13 with 29 points and 14 rebounds. Follow that up against North Carolina. He had 31 points, 11 rebounds, and shot 68% from the field. Followed that up against Florida State in the tournament championship game, 21 points, 5 rebounds, and 63% shooting. And they blew Florida State out. That dude is a beast. And as long as he's healthy, they should be the favorites to win the title to me. But one of the drawbacks of their team is that they wanted probably the worst three-point shooting team in the whole tournament. And that can come back to bite them because they come up against a team who's hot, because it shows. All you have to do is be hot, and you can shoot the other team right out of the gym. You could have all the 6'8" to 7-foot monsters you want, but you come across a veteran-laced team that can shoot jumpers and they're hot, they send anybody home. And I'm pulling for him. Hopefully he stays healthy and he can make it to the league next year unscathed and collect that bag. Well, ladies and gentlemen, once again, it's that time. Sun's getting real low. I got to pack it up and head out. Had fun today. Talked a lot of football. NBA playoffs are coming up. NCAA tournament is coming up. So definitely we'll be watching those closely and give you all my opinions on those. And, of course, give you the facts first, then give you my opinion. That's what separates us here at the True Definition of a Sports Fanatic. We're not about sensationalism, ladies and gentlemen. We're about giving you the tools to find things out yourself. But anyway, remember to like and subscribe. Please like and subscribe. Share it with any and everybody. Trying to get this to a great, well-rounded product. Still working. Still doing my research. Tips, tricks, all those things, because I want to make this a big thing and I want to send it off. Hopefully somebody can hear it, and who knows, I might have me a job somewhere. But until then, it's just me, it's just you, and I'm here. So I'll see you next time. Peace.